Onto your markets now. Asian shares largely closed up, but Japan's stock market ended in the red ahead of the snap election that's been called by Japan's new prime minister. The Nikkei share average ended the session down 0.6%. The Hang Seng index closed up by 0.5%, and the Shanghai Composite Index rose by 0.6%. US markets ended the session mixed, although it was an improved showing on the previous 3 days of losses. Tesla shares rose by over 20% following Elon Musk's forecast for robust car sales growth next year, helping to reassure investors and helping also to drive up the Nasdaq. The Dow Jones Industrial Average declined by 1/3%. The S&P 500 closed up 0.2%, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq ended the session up 0.8%. Well, for more on the markets, I'm joined by Warwick Lucas. He's a portfolio manager at Vunani Securities. Thanks very much for joining us, Warwick. So your reflections on market movements over the past week and what your expectations are for next week?
Well, I think from week to week, we can hear various news and noise and so on. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to interest rates. And I think that's really what we're looking for, certainly through till the rest of the year. I guess that's interest rates with the caveat that at least there's a modicum of growth going through. So, we're obviously looking for more rate cuts in the States. We're certainly looking for rate cuts locally. I think that's a story of what I'm going to be looking for next week as well.
Yeah.
Overall, that's the direction. It's down.
After the 5th of November, when the US goes to election, does it matter who wins for the markets?
Usually not an awful lot. I think it certainly will make a difference in terms of, okay, what is the kind of trading framework that the US is going to adopt? Because, the problem with politics, and especially these days where they're so bipartisan, is that you tend to have these very aggressive, wild promises that tend to skew a real view of what is actually going to materialize. And I think it's important to remember that yes, the US president, whoever it may be, does play the game somewhat, but to be honest, the game also plays them. The external forces that face them are quite sort of substantial, and it takes a long time to turn away from the immediate agenda, whatever that may be.
Yeah. So local mining stocks rallied yesterday on talk of possible US sanctions on Russian palladium. Do you think that was overdone, or could such a move really benefit PGM miners?
Look, I think it probably was overdone in the short term, but nevertheless, it is positive news for our platinum miners from the point of view of the basic makeup of an autocatalyst. When a car manufacturer creates a model, they're very much stuck in terms of what the different percentages of basically palladium, platinum, rhodium, etc. are in those autocats. But what it does do is it pushes the already lower platinum price to the fore from the point of view that it would incentivize an autocat manufacturer to lean towards South Africa's minerals mix rather than a Russian minerals mix. So from that point of view, I am somewhat encouraged.
So SAB Governor Lesija Kganyago was speaking on the sidelines of the IMF meetings in Washington. He spoke to a publication and he was basically saying he thinks that the rand has more scope for strength so long as the government does continue to pursue its reform agenda. What are your thoughts around that?
Well, absolutely. What we need to see is that the promise of GNU is transformed into something that is sustainable. Obviously, one of the most important things to sustain the long-term prosperity of the country is to see an ongoing restoration of institutions and governance processes. The other matter is the basic real interest rate environment that we are operating here in South Africa. We are offering one of the highest real interest rates in the world, and that is inevitably going to be very rand supportive. The other thing that we'll be looking for is, of course, for commodities to continue to improve. And I guess for that, we are basically going to look for our friends from China to push through the kind of economic reforms that sustain growth in their economy and resume some kind of demand for commodities.
Warwick, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time and insights. Have a great weekend. That was Warwick Lucas. He is from Vunani Securities.